Scott, Sony CEO, says PlayStation's gaming future will be on console, mobile, and cloud. Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. As a lead console maker in the world, Sony is in a special spot with PlayStation 5 and its gaming business. The console sales have continued to rise since its 2020 release, and the PlayStation division has been working towards keeping its hold on the top spot in the gaming industry for the future. What the future holds, however, is anyone's guess, including Kenichiro Yoshida in an interview with Norges Bank Investment Management, and that's a weird interview to get placed, but the Sony CEO talked about where he sees the future of gaming for PlayStation going both the short and near term. Quote, to be ubiquitous, end quote, Yoshida said, quote, wherever there is computing, users will be able to play their favorite games seamlessly. While PlayStation will remain our core product, we will expand our gaming experiences to PC, mobile, and cloud. End quote. Speaking of the cloud and non-traditional gaming, Yoshida was asked about the movement towards subscription services for gaming. It's something that, while he sees the value in, doesn't believe is a catch-all solution for gamers. Quote, people usually play one game at a time, end quote, he said. Quote, the all-you-can-eat type of many games may not be so valuable compared to video streaming services. So we'll have a kind of balanced or hybrid service on PlayStation Network, a subscription as well as the paid per content, end quote. Scott, that's their shot at Game Pass, saying we don't believe in the model, that we're sticking with what we believe in, and that they are going to do the top tier where they offer streaming, but also the other tiers too, where you can get in and just buy your games, right? Like that's where they're looking at it. But
I think the idea of having a lot of choice is never a bad idea.
Yeah, absolutely, right? The 3-tier thing is something I'm kind of getting used to with PlayStation. It has taken a while, but man, was it confusing when it launched. But either way, lastly, Yoshida was asked specifically about the recent Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard and how it will impact the direction of PlayStation. Without really giving much away, Yoshida said that Sony will continue to work to give PlayStation members the ability to play the best games with the best options. Quote, healthy competition is necessary for the game industry to grow, and at Sony, we believe it is important to provide gamers with different options to play, end quote, he said. Quote, so we'll continue our efforts to achieve this, end quote. It's got very PR speak right there. Right?
It is, but I can't help, but realize this does sound a lot like Stadia. And it also kind of sounds a little bit like Xbox's idea of, well, play anywhere.
Yeah, very
literally
much so.
Their tagline.
It is their tagline, right? That's why they do the stream in the cloud service. This is why they have Game Pass, so that you can take Game Pass wherever you want and be able to play whatever you want, wherever you want. PlayStation, in their own sense, is following that model, but in a different sense. With having this 3-tier structure, they're getting into streaming, right? They're going to be able to play your games on mobile. That's their ideas. They're doing the same thing, but they're just phrasing it differently, Scott, at the end of the day. But PlayStation 6, eventually, we've heard rumors of the PlayStation 5 Pro coming, and I don't know if that's necessary, but we'll see. Sounds like it's on the way. PlayStation 6, question then becomes, will we see a PlayStation 7, Scott? Or by that time, its console is gone, and it's just mobile and cloud altogether?
I think it's just mobile and cloud altogether. Actually, this is my prediction after these consoles launched our current generation. I thought, well, I'm not sure if this is a big enough step up from the last generation. It certainly hasn't been enough time for us to need a Pro, in my opinion.
Sure.
But I think that's because the landscape of gaming is changing. You no longer need just a supercomputer to host everything. You can now just have different, options to you. But it's interesting to see how things are going to change over the next generation. I suspected it would be Xbox with Game Pass that would shop around to different kind of tech giants like this Samsung TV that already exists.
Right.
Things like that. But it's interesting that PlayStation is doing this. And the third question is, how far behind is Nintendo? Is Nintendo catching up still with their Switch 2? Is that when they're going to look for whatever the next cloud-based system is? Stadia really was just 5 or almost 6 years ahead of everyone else.
Absolutely. I think Stadia paved the way for where Xbox and PlayStation are heading. That's just hands down where it is, right? It's unfortunate because Stadia had something, what they didn't have was the games. right? When you have
Yeah.
two giant juggernaut platforms already with Xbox and PlayStation, and people are already invested into those ecosystems, how do you then bring out a new console that is streaming only, right? So you're not going to get everybody, because not everybody has the bandwidth to be able to stream consoles or stream their games now. But when you take a look at Netflix, dude, even the rise of Netflix right now is starting to see them be able to put games on, AAA games on there, right? Like they're pulling in massive studios. This is what Stadia lacked. We said this right from the get-go. They didn't have this bandwidth to keep coming out with games. They didn't have the studios that produce first-party games, right? They had Jade Raymond, and then the minute she bounced, dude, that was, the writing was on the wall where Stadia was going. And it was such a disappointment because, like I said, all they did was pave the way here for PlayStation and Xbox to then carry on with this streaming platform. And the cloud has been there, dude, and the cloud works really, really well. And then PlayStation now has their PlayStation Portal, which I use on a regular basis, which is a bit of a different streaming platform. It just beams right to my console, but you can still go in there and actually stream to other platforms, right? Before I was doing remote play with my iPad. Like there are ways to kind of get around this, but now you can get in there and just stream from the platform. Now they want you to do on mobile. Everybody wants you to stay on their platform for as long as possible without having to deviate to the competition. And how do you do that? You keep your consoles going, you bring out mobile, and you keep that cloud going, and you keep it going stronger than ever, and keep innovating on that tech to make it easier and simpler for people to get into. And I think that's PlayStation's direction.
Easier and simpler does have me worried for this. Will be the jump to Web 3 and that kind of. Maybe that's something I shouldn't worry about too much, but just that it's new technology, the whole NFT Web 3 kind of idea, blockchain, and I'm not sure how that's going to fit into gaming as a whole, but I think that will be pertinent to the discussion going forward.
It will be. I don't think it's there. Everybody kind of, they put their foot down, right, and cut it out pretty quickly. I know there's still games being made with NFTs and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, the core gamer doesn't care about it. Dude, they don't give a crap about it whatsoever. They just want to be able to go in there, play the game. They'll buy the battle pass, right? They'll buy the season pass. They'll buy whatever cosmetics that they want and not worried about attaching them to a blockchain. Like that is still years out, if ever, from coming in here to our gaming space, because I don't think anybody wants it. Dude, when the news started dropping, everybody's all against it. I was like, wow, they're not liking this idea, right? So the fact that you own anything now is almost like non-existent, and I think this is where PlayStation wants to keep it. They don't want you to own stuff, dude. You go to the cloud, you don't own that game, right? The next God of War beams to the cloud, you won't own it. You download it or you stream it, and then what? They just cut it loose whenever they want. You don't have it anymore.
Oh, we've gone so far away from that one E3, which is, hey, you want to borrow a game? Here's how you do it. We've gone so far.